loves, thanks for returning. I hope this video finds you happy and doing well. As you know by the thumbnail, this video is going to be on the new Pure 4-in-1 Love Your Selfie foundation. So if you're interested, then just keep watching. All right, so here's the foundation right here, and I'm sure all of you all have seen this. This has been all over the YT, and it's kind of getting some mixed reviews in that some people think that the foundation is gimmicky, meaning they're trying to outdo other brands, just kind of showing how many foundation shades they can come out with. Personally, for me, I think that it's awesome that they even took the time to even consider people that have kind of hard to find shade ranges, and I think that it was an awesome attempt to aid people that are on the darker or deeper end of the spectrum as well as the lighter end of the spectrum, because truth be told, both extremely deep skin tones have issues with finding their shades, as well as some of the lighter skin tones, or the really fairest of the fairest skin tones. At least that's something that I have noticed. So I think that this foundation is really good if you have mature skin, because it does have a lot of skincare properties, which is really good, especially if you're going to be wearing this foundation day in and day out, because truth be told, it's just better to put something that's a little bit healthy for your skin as opposed to a foundation that doesn't have a lot of good ingredients. And this foundation comes in at $36, which I think is more on the affordable end, because you do have foundations out there that are $40, $50, $60 that don't even come close to having a good shade range. So I think that all of that is pretty good. Now, you don't really get the most glamorous this is a plastic bottle, and the little top comes off like this, and you get the pump, as you can see, but you also get a doe foot, which is really good at spot concealing. And as you all can see, I have some breakouts right here, as well as acne scarring. So if you have a foundation that has a doe foot, you can kind of go back and just add a little bit more foundation to that particular area, as opposed to putting the foundation on all over it. And that's just how I like to best utilize the doe foot. I know that some people don't particularly like the doe foot, because the argument is that it's not as sanitary, and I just start off with a clean brush and a clean face and clean hands as to better combat bacteria. So I am going to go in with a demo. I will have timestamps below, and with that being said, I do upload a lot of other foundations on my Instagram. If you're ever interested in seeing how other foundations are wearing and how they're kind of holding up throughout the day, I do post a lot of that on my Instagram. Now, I do think it's interesting that they printed on their bottle that they are the complexion authority, and I'm thinking that they probably say that because they have 100 shades. Again, I do think that they really did a good job in trying to include everyone, because they have pink undertones, they have neutral undertones, as well as gold undertones. And with that being said, you do have 7 different shades to choose from. Now, what I will tell you is that within Ulta, you will notice that they have like 22 shades, and I was actually talking to one of the Ulta representatives, and she said that Ulta only bought 22 shades, and the agreement was for Ulta to only have 40 shades on their website. And I'm telling you all this because I have noticed, or I did see in some foundation reviews, that people were kind of a little bit put back that Pure didn't put all of their shades. Well, it's not that, it's the fact that Ulta only bought 22 shades. And now I can go into Kohl's. You will find that Kohl's has a limited choice of shades at their store, but you know, again, if you can't find it at Ulta, you can try Kohl's. Also, you can go and just buy a little tiny sample bottle on Pure for $10 on Pure's website for $10. You can do that also. So just be careful when picking your shade online. Just whatever you think is your shade, I would say go a little bit deeper, maybe a shade or two deeper. That's what I did, and the reason that I did it, let's see, what is this? I had it in DP3 and this is DP6. This was the next golden shade that they had in the store. Now what you'll see upon application is that it is a little bit deeper, but as many of you all know, I would prefer to go deeper as opposed to lighter because I don't like to get that bobblehead look. I feel like as though, you know, once you add in your concealer, it just kind of brings everything together. I know that some ladies like to go lighter as opposed to deeper, but it just depends on your preference. You know, we all have to do what makes us happy. So I did find that this foundation is very lightweight. I think that the coverage is buildable and it's very comfortable. It's one of those foundations where it doesn't feel like you have on any foundation. And I think that brands are really doing a good job of that, making a foundation that is medium to full coverage without feeling heavy and cakey. Even though you'll see during the demo that this foundation does kind of come off a little bit thick, you know, because it's not going to run once I put it on the back of my hand. But it just doesn't feel heavy on the skin. And I will say that if you do have a lot of scarring or issues that you're trying to cover up, or redness or things like that, don't go back over, you know, all over your face with the second layer trying to, you know, quote unquote build it up. Just go and use the doe foot and just go over the areas where you really need it, because that's going to keep it from creasing, because actually you're just adding on more product. You really don't, in my opinion, I don't think you need that much. You can just go over and spot conceal the areas that are needed. So with all that being said, let me go ahead and show you all the bottle. This is it, and it looks to be a really good shade. So, and here is the top. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, and as you can see, it is on the thicker side because it's not running anywhere. And I'm going to use a sponge on one side. I have a clean sponge and my brush is clean. So I'm gonna start off with this side and apply it with my brush. And as you can see, here's my acne scarring, and I'm just going to apply some over that. And the coverage, as you can see, looks to be medium coverage. I think that it's doing a good job at covering up my acne scarring. You can tell that this shade is very golden. And I'm just going to finish applying it on the rest of my face. Alright, so I have this applied, and you can kind of see how the application is, and that's just with one application. And I don't think that I need to go in, at least from what I can see now, I don't think that I need to go in with another layer. So let me go ahead and do the other side with a sponge. As you can see with the sponge, it appears to have a sheerer coverage as opposed to with the brush. And that is what it's looking like on the sponge side. Alright, so as you can see, this is the side with the sponge and this is the side with the brush. I think with the brush I'm getting a little bit more coverage as opposed to the side with the sponge. As far as how the foundation feels, overall it does feel lightweight. I can tell that I do have a little bit more, or it feels like I have more foundation on this side as opposed with the sponge, which is to be expected because when you use a sponge, the sponge absorbs more product. On the flip side, the sponge does a better job at covering up a lot of my acne scarring. If you do have dry skin, I feel as though you can get away with not setting it if you do use a sponge. However, if you use a brush, you are going to need to set it. I don't feel as though this is a matte finish. I feel as though it has a natural finish, and I also don't think as though it is going to oxidize. You can definitely let me know what you think once I get on the full face. Again, I think that this foundation is really pretty, and I love the fact that it has a lot of healthy ingredients in it. So with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and finish up my complexion, and I'll be back. All right, so I'm back with the final look, and I think that it pretty much all came together as far as the shade range. I really do feel as though this shade range was a little bit too deep for me, but like I said, I prefer to go a little bit deeper as opposed to a little bit lighter, and then I just bring it all together with the concealer. Now, I did not set my face. I did use a bronzer around the perimeter, and I did highlight, but as far as adding another powder on top of this foundation, I didn't do that, and I think that it looks good. I think that it really would have been an overkill for me because I just didn't want that overly matte type of look, but I just thought that I wouldn't set it just so you could kind of get an idea of how the foundation would look with it not being set. Again, this is the side that I used a sponge, and this is the side that I used a brush, and I think that it came together really nicely. Again, if you do want to pick this foundation up, check a few places out before you try to finagle the website. Even though they do have some tools to help you decide your shade, apparently they do have a tool to where if you put in your perfect match for a particular foundation, it will recommend a shade for you. Overall, I would give this foundation a 10, mainly because of all of the goodies that are in this foundation. Again, if you have mature skin and you're trying to find a foundation that has a lot of good ingredients, especially ingredients that are going to be good for you in the long run, I would definitely say to check this one out. So let me know, have you checked it out? Do you plan on checking it out? I would love to hear about it down in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until my next video, smooches.